there, Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk's Bounty video, and welcome to episode 68 of Ask Bossk's Bounty. This is, of course, the weekly series where I answer your questions that you've left in the comment section below. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, be sure to leave it there, and hopefully I'll get round to featuring you next week. If I don't feature you this week, I do apologise. Once again, I had loads and loads of questions, which is absolutely awesome, so please do keep them coming. If you do happen to like this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. And before we do get onto the questions, I just want to give a massive shout out to somebody that unfortunately I do not know their name and I can't credit them. Basically, in the week I received a parcel, and in that parcel was this card back. It is a tri-logo Paploo card back with a Paploo figure, vintage figure, and a vintage Anakin Skywalker from the last 17. Now, unfortunately, there was no note in the package, and I honestly can't remember anybody contacting me on Instagram or email saying that they were going to send me these items. So it's a complete and utter surprise. I had no idea anything was coming like that, and it just proves once again that I feel that I've got the best and most generous fans on YouTube. You're so generous. I do thank you so much. So whoever you are, I can't give you credit, unfortunately. I do apologise, and I would like to thank you personally. So please get in touch with me on Instagram or email or something and let it be known to me who you are that sent these awesome gifts. But thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Now, with all that being said, let's get on to the first question. Munchlock221 says, question for next week. Do you think we will get a few more figures this upcoming summer that have not been announced yet, but probably will last second? I have a feeling that we will. Maybe not released in the summer, but I do think there is more reveals to come before the year is out for figures that are going to be coming out this year. Possibly ones that are going to drop maybe towards the end of the year after the Razor Crest. And I also do think there's some exclusives to be announced and things like that, convention exclusives, that we have no idea what they are yet. So keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure there's more to come. Bruce Wayne says, as always, great video and great content. Thank you, Bruce. Question for next week. Which photo reel face update or new releases do you consider to be bad enough to need a redo of their face sculpt? Well, to be honest, I think most of the figures that have been re-released and given the photo reel treatment haven't been a massive success. I've got to be honest. I don't think it works too well on older face sculpts. Obviously, new figures, it works very, very well when you think of people like Moff Gideon and Cara Dune and the Mandalorian, people like that. They look fantastic. This is probably the best one. I opened this recently on a review, and I think that facial sculpt there with the photo reel is really, really good. I don't think you can get too much more lifelike and human-like than this figure in terms of an old sculpt with the photo reel. I think they've done really, really well. I'm the Random One. Great name. Nice video, boss. Question for next week. Do you think the Vintage Collection will release any figures for the Knights of the Old Republic like Darth Nihilus? Yep, I think that's entirely possible, especially with the rumoured Gaming Greats coming to the Vintage Collection, which is awesome. We obviously had Darth Nihilus in the Black Series. I can't see any reason why not. Maybe there's an older figure that they can revisit that's good enough, or they can just, you know, kit bash to create a newer version of that figure. However, I think the Gaming Greats will probably concentrate on repaints to begin with, in terms of, like, you know, different coloured Stormtroopers. Maybe that Stormtrooper Commando with the blue flashes will probably be one of the first ones I would imagine that they will do. But yeah, if it's a success, then I'm sure the Gaming Greats line will move on to other characters such as the Sith Lords. Miles Hauk or Hook, I'm sorry if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. Bossk, thanks for the show. Bossk looks great with the saber. Question for next week. The older Saga collections have some great accessories included with their figures. For instance, C-3PO with the chair from the Ewok Village. Do you think the Vintage Collection will ever go this route and add accessories from scenes more? The Child has the nice accessory pack as well as Din Djarin and the Child figs, but I'd love to see more. Your thoughts, please. I think the Vintage Collection packaging, this style of packaging, restricts that somewhat. I think they will keep those to the bare minimum, exclusives, things like that. You know, with the Child, you get the pram, and obviously with Din Djarin, you get the Child and the Kamtomo and the extra head and things like that. It's not very often that they do that, and I think they'll probably restrict that to characters that really need it. If we get a new C-3PO, I don't think it'll come with like the chair or anything. I just don't think the bubbles are big enough for them, essentially, and the packaging just doesn't allow for it. Yoda Skywalker says, hi, Mr. Boss. Question for next week. Why hasn't Hasbro gone to the vintage card backs like the original line 21 back, 45 backs, etc.? So yeah, on the original vintage cards, we had these awesome backs here with all the different characters on it. So this one's a 70 back because it's got 70 of the figures. We've got the 2 blacked out Ewoks there as well. Shout out to you, blacked out Ewoks. But yeah, I would love them to do that sort of thing, but obviously they don't anymore. They give us backs like this because they have to put a load of this legal gumph on there with all the different languages and things like that. And we only end up having this. And part of it is also because this is all the product that they've got out at the moment. It's not like that they can sort of, you know, advertise all the figures, because when these come out, all of these figures will be available on Jedi cards or whatever from the previous films. And that is just not how it works anymore. So yeah, I would love them to do it, but it's just not going to happen, unfortunately. Final Secrets of Chrono says, what is the figure collect item you have most overpaid for, knowingly or unknowingly, and what's best bargain you have ever picked up? So most recently, I'd probably say the ARC Trooper 3-pack I overpaid for because I just wanted to make sure that I got one, and I wanted it early. So I ended up getting one off eBay, and I probably pay, you know, £30 more than it's worth. But then considering the prices that they ended up going for after that, you know, I think that's quite normal anyway. But I wanted to make sure that I got one. I didn't want to miss out on that one. In terms of the bargain, I would probably have to say it's this Bossk here. So this is a Palatoy Bossk, and I won this on a Vectis auction, and I think it cost me about £170 not too long ago. Now, I think the reason for that is because this particular card back here is a renowned Toy Tony, which was some guy that had all the card backs, and he got old figures and sealed the bubbles onto the cards himself and sold them as legit items. So all the parts were legit. It's just it was an older figure on a card. It wasn't sort of factory sealed, if you like. But this one has been confirmed as not being a Toy Tony, which I'm very, very happy with, which makes it more value towards maybe £400, maybe even a bit more, I don't know.
It's a deal. It's a steal. It's sale of the f***ing century.
It does have a little bit of a crease through here, but that's quite normal on these older cards. But I would probably say that that is my biggest bargain, certainly in the last year. Biker Scout 74 says, hi Tim, question for next week. Are there any figures from the earlier Hasbro modern lines, such as the Power Force 2, Power of the Jedi and Saga collection, that you think are actually better than their vintage collection counterpart? You can include from the 2010 to 13 vintage collection line as well. Cheers. Thanks for the question, Biker Scout, mate. I do appreciate it. Yeah, there's a few figures that I think that I prefer. They might not actually be better, but I just prefer them. So, for example, the old clone mold. This is I think this one's from the Saga Legends, but he's definitely the same mold from the Saga collection. It's the antenna mold where you can put that little antenna in there. But I've always loved these figures. I've always loved the proportions of these figures. You can see that the helmet is really in proportion with the figure and the body. Whereas these ones, the oversized helmet just ruins the look of it for me. And I always think that these clones are a little bit on the skinny side as well. So from that point of, I actually prefer this figure. Although the articulation isn't as good, I actually prefer the look of it. Another one is droids. Droids tend to be better. I find like this C-3PO is pretty awful, to be honest. And if you think about, he is actually on a stand, which is, I don't know, a couple of millimeters tall. And he's as tall as this C-3PO, which means, you know, he's definitely an undersized C-3PO. Plus, he's not that metalized. And this one here was from the 30th anniversary. I think it's the one where he's getting attacked by Salacious Crumb. But that just shows you, you know, what they can do. I much prefer something like that to what we have in the vintage collection. Emmerich Fogel says, hi boss, your channel is the reason I started collecting the vintage collection. Well, that's good. Another person to the ranks. Question for next week. Do you know what's with the orange card version of the new Boba Fett? I understand that lots of collectors like the original yellow card because of nostalgia, but I consider orange version to have more superior image and I really want one. I pre-ordered 2 of them. Do you know what I am getting? And do you think it will be hard to find? So I think the orange one will be a bit harder to find. I think there was only a certain amount of those produced before they changed it. So there's going to be a few of those out there. I have no idea which one you're going to get. And if you've ordered 2 from the same place, then you're probably going to get the same card, I would imagine. I would imagine the orange ones have turned up in one particular location. That's just my opinion on it. And, you know, everyone's going to be scratching around for those ones. But, Yeah, the yellow one is the more common one that everyone seems to be picking up in the States anyway. Duloc Shaman says, great video. Question, what is the worst eBay experience if you have had? One time I ordered something and it came in a cowboy boot box and was wrapped in smelly clothes.
I recognised your foul stench when I was brought on board.
That probably tops mine. I think the worst experience I've ever had, I've actually been quite lucky. The worst experience I've had is I ordered a vintage collection figure that I still don't have. I'm not going to name the character in case the person that sent it to me is watching, but it was a character that I haven't got. It's a reasonably rare one. They go for over £100. It came up on eBay for £60 by now, and I bought it. And then when it arrived, it was in a rubbishy, flimsy box, and it was all crushed. The bubble was crushed, absolutely gutted. So I got a refund and sent it back. And since then, that particular figure has gone up even more in value, just like all the others. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to get it unless they'll re-release it, because I'm not going to be paying £150 for a modern vintage collection figure. Zodiac Collector says, hey boss, question for next week. What is your favourite Star Wars series to collect in the vintage collection? Example, Phantom Menace, Mandalorian, Rogue One, etc. Man, that is difficult. I think I would probably have to go with Return of the Jedi, purely because of the amount that there are available in Return of the Jedi. It's by far and away the most represented film in the vintage collection, and we've got, you know, Jedi Knight, we've got all the goons, Jabba's goons, Skiff Guard, yeah, we've got all of those cool characters, so it'd probably have to be Return of the Jedi. I do also like the Revenge of the Sith because of all the clones. You've got all the different clone commanders and stuff like that. They're pretty cool as well. But yeah, it'd have to be Return of the Jedi. Josh Butt says, hi Tim, I have a question for next week. Which is the one figure you wish you had as a kid but Kenner never produced? Mine was the Han in Stormtrooper disguise. Yeah, that is a pretty good one. He would have gone very nicely with the Luke, wouldn't he? And I think if we'd carried on with the Kenner line, then we would have got that figure eventually. There's a couple, isn't there? There's, you know, Tarkin's a big one.
Then name the system.
And Hasbro actually gave us that one in that set in the retro collection, which is pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. There's a few others. Maybe a Sand Trooper would have been cool. Rebel Fleet Trooper would have been good. There's a few, isn't there? Zach Krim says, hey boss, question for next week. As you've discussed, Hasbro's clearly trying to finish the original 96, but does that mean we'll get figures like the Sensor Scope and Pop-Up R2 or Removable Limbs 3PO, or will they just say they already gave us that character and call it good? Well, to be honest, I don't know, but I figured that the way they were talking about the Snaggletooth, and they actually said that this was an adjacent to the 96 because they've actually given us Zuton instead of the other Zutmore little guy, the like red Snaggletooth with that card back there. He actually, you know, I think it was Patrick actually said this is like adjacent to the 96. So to them, maybe that isn't ticking off one of them, which means perhaps the Pop-Up R2, the Sensoscope R2, Removable Limbs, maybe they aren't ticked off either, and maybe we will get those. Who knows? ILBFT man, I don't know how to say that, so I'm just saying it like that, basically. How many figures are we missing from the original line? So I did a bit of a count, and obviously talking about the previous question with what actually is classed as a vintage figure in the vintage collection line. You know, does the R2-D2 on the Jabba sail barge count as one of the originals? Is that a tick? We're not entirely sure, but I had a bit of a count and I figured that there's about 29 still to do, and a lot of those are actually the last 17 characters. Which moves us seamlessly on to Robert Law's question, where he says, if they release the first 96, will they do the Power of the Force line with a coin? And I don't think they will, purely because we've already got the General Lando Calrissian, which was a last 17 figure with a coin, and we've got the Luke Stormtrooper as well. So I can't really see them doing that. I think they're going to save those coin ones for exclusives like they did with the Yak Face and the Barge. No idea when we'll get another one of those, mind, but I think, yeah, judging by the ones that we've already got from the last 17, I don't think we'll be getting coins. Daft Dwarf says, hi boss, great video as always. Thank you, mate. Question, I'm new to the Vintage Collection party and have just started collecting the Mandalorian figures. Having purchased 2 of each, I'm very tempted to open one of each figure and display them. What should I do? Well, if you've bought 2 of each, mate, I would definitely free them from their plastic prison and display them. Why not? Keep one carded, keep one loose. You get the best of both worlds. Liam K says, will we get all of the Heist characters like the droid and Bill Burr in the Vintage Collection? I missed out on Cara Dune figure and I'm thinking of the future HasLab setup. I don't think we'll get all of the prison episode characters by a long stretch. I could possibly see Mayfeld, which is Bill Burr's character, being made, and the droid Zero. Both of those are going to be coming for the Black Series, so hopefully sometime in the future we will get those in the Vintage Collection. But those two out of all of the prison episode characters are probably the most likely. Rogue389 says, hey Tim, enjoy your videos. Which one of your videos do you credit your success to, and how long did it take you to feel your channel was successful? Thanks, from Brian. I don't think I've put it down to any one video. There was a couple of videos in the past, I think I've talked about this before, where you get one video that gets a lot of views compared to your normal amount, and then after that you see a bit of an uptake, as it were. In terms of the success of the channel, if you can call it successful, it's just something that is built up over time, and has been a lot of hard work over the last 3 years. I think I've put out maybe nearly 400 videos. A lot of those have been in the last year, really ramped it up. And, I've got a presence on social media. You sort of interact with the fans, you answer comments, you reply, all that kind of stuff helps. It's not just one particular thing, but I'm just thankful that I've got you guys watching my videos. I always appreciate every view, every thumbs up, and every comment. I appreciate it all, so thank you. And with all that being said, that was the final question of the episode, so I do want to thank you very much for watching. Of course, drop a like on this video if you have enjoyed it, and we shall see you on the next one.